Night Nation, Trace Trolko here. This is the Sons of UCF Live. Back this week with Adam. Hello, Adam.
Hi, Trace. How are you? Welcome back. You had a nice week off, I hope?
I did. Spend some time with family, my nephew's graduation. I want to quote, I went back and it took me almost the whole week, but I went back and watched the replay, which you can find on demand at the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. And I never watched the comments, but this time I did. And then, a good friend of the show, Dolly Drama, I saw this comment. Refreshing change of pace. Sometimes a little switch up is fun. Sorry, Dolly, I'm back.
You saw that, did you?
I did.
Matt Dolan says charge on. Does that help you?
No, it was good to see. I miss Mike. In this space. And of course, Leo sends me a video clip that he shot a couple feet away from the Pope. He's in Italy.
Of course he is. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good to be back. Good to see you. Of course, we will be off next week because you're going to be out of town. So we're going to take a week off. But some breaking news. Thursdays have been built for breaking news. We've lucked out in that regard. Former UCF quarterback Mackenzie Milton reunites with head coach Josh Heupel in Tennessee, added to the coaching staff as an offensive analyst. Not reuniting with Scott Frost anywhere, not named to the UCF coaching staff with Gus Malzahn, but headed to Tennessee. When you heard that, what was your reaction?
I'm not going to lie, Trace, looking at him in this orange, certainly took a few minutes to get used to. Not overly surprised. I mean, Mackenzie's talked about his love for football. He's talked about how much he thought maybe coaching would be something he gets into down the road. I think if you're following along with his NIL career, he obviously moved the platform over now to the Kingdom. I know he's still a board of directors, but he divested a little bit there. So you could kind of see the dominoes falling. And I think at some point, I always expected he would get back into coaching or he would start out with his coaching career. I didn't know that I had Tennessee on the list. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it, but I don't know that I had Tennessee on the list. But, when you think about it, it does make some sense. So not overly surprised to see this news from Mackenzie today.
So I saw some of the reaction on social media this afternoon. A miss by UCF not retaining Mackenzie. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I want to plug something, Trace, but prior to us getting on here, I had a chance to talk to Andrea Adelson from ESPN.com. She's the one who sort of broke and wrote the story about Mackenzie's move to Tennessee. And I asked her point blank, I said, hey, did UCF miss an opportunity here? Was that an option? She said they didn't talk about it specifically. Casey did not make any mention that he made choices in between places. It sounded like he went to Tennessee, enjoyed his time there, liked what he saw, liked the atmosphere. Heupel said, hey, let's do this thing. And he just said, sure, let's do it. So I don't know. Would it be great to see him come back and be a coach at UCF right now? Sure. But he's also got to cut his teeth as a coach, right? And this is a great opportunity to go learn people you're comfortable with. Anybody out there, think about if you're taking a job for the first time, you probably want to go work for some people and in this case, an offense, like maybe in your real life, Trace, like a computer system that you're comfortable with. And I think that checks a lot of boxes for Mackenzie. So would I have loved to see Gus find a way to get him on staff at UCF? Sure. But I also don't think it's an indictment on his relationship with UCF, an indictment on Gus Malzahn. I think it's simply this is a really good offer, a good opportunity, checks boxes for him, and it makes sense now. That does not mean he can't come back to UCF. So let's all remember really quickly, he's an offensive analyst. What does that mean? I'm glad you asked, Trace. He has no on-field responsibilities. He's simply going to be analyzing stuff, up in a box in the game. He has no on-field coaching responsibility. So if an on-field position opens at UCF next year, that's a promotion for Mackenzie. So I don't think this means the door's closed on his ability to come back to UCF. I think it just checks a lot of boxes for him right now.
And he talked about the familiarity, the comfort level that he had with athletic director Danny White, who of course was at UCF. Josh Heupel, who was at UCF, as KZ said and was quoted, he knows most of the coaches on the Tennessee staff, right? So there's a comfort level there. He showed when he went off to Florida State and then came back in with UCF. He's got a love for Night Nation and for UCF. And, he's always going to be close to the program in some form.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like when people say this, I don't know if it's a knock on Mackenzie. I think people take this more as a knock on Gus Malzahn, right, for not bringing Mackenzie back. But again, I think to your point, Mackenzie's got love for UCF, and if it was the right time, the right situation, they would have worked it out. It's just not that situation right now. I don't think it's an indictment on either party. I don't think it's Gus saying like, no, Mackenzie, I have no interest in you being on my coaching staff. Sometimes the opportunity just isn't there, right? Sometimes the dollars just aren't there. Let's not forget, Tennessee's budget for coaches is probably a smidge higher than UCF's budget for
Smidge.
coaches. So perhaps there are more analyst roles walking around Knoxville than we have here in Orlando, right? So maybe there's some element to, Gus wanting to do something, but just monetarily not making it happen now. But I don't get the sense that this is Gus saying, I don't want Mackenzie here, or Mackenzie saying, I don't want to be here. I think it's simply right opportunity, right place, right time, and he wants to start his coaching career.
Well, remember, it's just a year or so ago that he was participating in a pro day, right? And with the hopes of continuing his career in the NFL. That didn't work out. He was on with us on a live show and, said the USFL, XFL, those sorts of things were not of interest to him, right? But he always wanted to remain close to the game. And he was, very involved with mission control over the last year and has got married, has a child, and, just the next stage of his life, he wants to coach. And we saw, right? We saw when he was in recovery, what he had done with Dylan Gabriel and other quarterbacks. I mean, he was a coach on the sideline.
Well, and lest we forget, he actually was an assistant coach for Scott Frost at the Army, Navy, or whatever, the U.S. All-American high school football game a couple months back, right? Scott Frost came out of the mothballs, did a one-time coaching tour. Mackenzie was on his staff. So you kind of already saw the itch for coaching was there. And again, in my conversation with Andrea, which will drop in its entirety on YouTube after the show airs here tonight, she talked about not only Mackenzie's development with Dylan Gabriel, but how much Jordan Travis, the current quarterback of Florida State, still talks about how much he learned from that season with Mackenzie. So I think that coaching DNA, that coaching mindset's always been there. I think, look, Mackenzie's told a few people, in off the record, if you will, coaching's a grind, right? It's a full-time job. It's a grind of a job. And I think he wanted to make sure he was ready to make that commitment and that his family was ready for him to make that commitment, right? It's not a 9-to-5 coaching job. Hey, I'll be there at 9, I'll clock out at 5, coach, see you next day. It's a full-time job. And I think Mackenzie wants to make sure he was ready for that. His family was ready for that. And that it was the right time. And again, clearly, for him, this is the time and this is the opportunity.
Yeah, and you mentioned Andrea Adelson. A little behind the scenes, this news breaks. Adam and I are messaging back and forth. I'm like, who can we talk to? And I remembered that Andrea Adelson was a guest on the Sons of UCF podcast. And I said,
Friend of the show.
Reach out to Andrea. And then you messaged me and said, hey, she can't do live, but we can talk to her. And I'm like, run with that. I still had work to do. So you had the opportunity, a little pre-tape segment. We have a soundbite, a little clip from your interview earlier today.
It was essentially the right time for him. He called it a no-brainer because he gets to work with Coach Heupel. It's obviously a very familiar situation for him. Danny White, obviously being the athletic director at Tennessee. And it just felt like he was home in some respects and would be a great place to just be able to start out his career with so much familiarity. They love Knoxville. His wife loved Knoxville. It's a very young coaching staff. So a lot of younger wives with younger kids, they're expecting another child. So I think that was a determining factor as well. But I think the bottom line is he missed football and he wanted to have this opportunity to get back into it. And it was too hard to pass up this chance.
Good old Rocky Top. A good interview with Andrea Adelson. How long did you end up talking with her?
Yeah, it's about 20 minutes, Trace. We touched on a lot of Mackenzie stuff. And for those who maybe keep track on these things, she also did a story recently on John Rice Plumlee and his spring schedule. So we talked a little bit about that. And she spent some time with Gus Malzahn, so she had some insight on the UCF to the Big 12. So again, we'll drop that on YouTube right after the show airs. So make sure you subscribe to hear Andrea talk all things KZ, all things UCF, and a little JRP.
We thank her for squeezing Sons of UCF into her schedule on a busy day of reporting. Wish Mackenzie Milton all the best. We know he will forever be a knight, that Mount Rushmore, right, of UCF greats. So,
well, and Andrea said something interesting, and when in that bite I just played, Trace, this was a great time to start his career. This doesn't mean this is going to be his job for the next 20 years. No. This was a great time to start his career. Well, we all have loved him to have started at UCF, sure. But how many other coaches have come back to UCF? How many coaches have played? I don't want to say anything out loud, Trace, but I'm going to. The Cows offensive line coach, UCF alum, by the way. I mean, sometimes you go coach where you go coach. And that does not mean at some point Mackenzie can't come back. Now, you go coach of the Cows, you may need to stay there. But Mackenzie, you can come back on home from Tennessee.
And we'll run a little clip from your interview earlier this week with Sean Beckton, who has proven, right, throughout his career that he has remained close to UCF, even when he has been a part of another coaching staff. So good luck to Mackenzie Milton. We know good things are ahead for him one day. Got to know it, right? he'll be back in black and gold in some form or fashion with UCF. What was going to be our lead story was right the high of UCF baseball, a 4 seed.
Yes.
They get the win. Good pitching
go.
performance for Cam Leiter.
Boom.
They move into the winners bracket. Right, the
Get
top
off me.
seeds, top 1, 2, 3, they lose.
Easy.
They're going against the A-seeded Cows. This is a no-brainer. A little war on I-4 in the middle of the afternoon on a Thursday, right?
Close up shop, right? Yeah.
Reliable Friday starter Rudy Gomez. You know, he's your pitcher out there. They're going to win. They're going to move on to Saturday, stay in that winners. No, they were run rolled. Run rolled by the Cows. 15-4 in 8 innings. Cows with a 7-run fifth. This was 2-0 Cows. UCF scratch back, make it 2-2. Okay. Then the 7-run fourth. Knights use 7 pitchers, which you don't want to do now in a double elimination, right? Where you gotta win. You gotta beat, by the way, ECU, which they got swept there earlier in the season, right? You gotta win, and you gotta move on to Saturday. You just gotta keep winning now.
Yeah.
Not good. After the game, head coach Greg Lovelady spoke with the media, those in attendance. I was on Zoom. This is the fastest soundbite you're ever going to hear. Yeah. Coach Lovelady's reaction to the loss.
Listen quickly.
Just obviously not a very good performance today. We didn't play very well.
That sums it up.
All right. We'll see you next week.
That sums it up. Had several minutes, Adam. But when you got that, when I sent that over to you, I just need 3 seconds. We'll hear from Coach Lovelady a little bit more. He previews the matchup on Friday afternoon with ECU. We've been talking baseball these last several weeks with Nate Marrero, now a UCF alum.
It looks all grown up all of a sudden. Look at him. The Jordan picture's down. You look all grown up already.
Jordan's still on the floor.
Wow.
At the moment.
You did not return Jordan to the wall?
Well, I mean, I can grab him right now if you want me to.
I think you're only he did. He literally.
Yeah, or he's going to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
There he is.
Between you and me, Adam, I think Nate hops on in hopes that he can make a little money from Robert.
I don't see Robert in the comments yet, so
Robert may be in a poker game somewhere
today, Nate. Maybe tough tonight.
And it is what it is,
we've been talking about Nate's been working on a feature on Ben McCabe, who became the all-time home runs leader for UCF, surpassing Chris Duffy, who messaged me a little bit earlier. He's run into a little bit of a challenge time-wise. May be able to hop on with us. If not, we hope to catch up with him another time. But Nate, you talked to him as part of your piece. How's your story coming along?
It is really good. I think I might just have to interview Ben one more time, and I think it might be good to go. We'll just see how it all pans out. I've talked to Chris Duffy, who he met in the summer of 2021, I believe. His former head coach in high school, Clyde Metcalf, who had 950 career wins at Sarasota High School over 41 years.
Is that good?
That's really good, by my calculations. Journalists, I can't really do math, but I think that's pretty good. Who else? On Friday, I showed up to the Wichita State game, and I see someone who I've never seen before sitting at the media desk. I'm like, who's that? He looks a lot like Ben McCabe, and it was his brother Brett. So I ended up getting him for the story. That was great. I got to meet the family as a whole during the weekend for senior day, and it's just great people. I couldn't they've been amazing, and it's coming along really well. Just hopefully it'll get published in the next week or so.
Well, you messaged me this afternoon. We talked, and I said, right, UCF gets this Thursday win. They move on. You're like an hour into that. You're like, no. You're like pitching. Let's go back to Tuesday. Cam Leiter, who earned a spot on the freshman all-conference team. He's had an interesting season, but he's really sort of come into his own here down the stretch.
He really has. I mean, early on, which is typical for a freshman. He struggled. He's trying to find his footing. He's trying to get comfortable too. And just you see as the years progress, especially his last few starts, he's starting to come into his own. He's much more composed. And his stuff, he has the best stuff on his staff. That was what even when he was struggling, you could see that. If he was on, he'd probably – everyone at their best, he's probably their best pitcher. And he's starting to put it together. I mean, what he did against Cincinnati is everything you'd want from him and more. I mean, 7 innings, no runs on 98 pitches, which is relatively efficient. Just his growth is it makes you excited for the future. I mean, maybe he'll pitch again. A lot's going to have to go right for him to pitch again in the conference tournament. But, I mean, just moving forward, he has ace potential.
Yeah, that's another shame of the loss on Thursday, of course, against the rival in Tampa, is you may not see Cam Leiter again. They've got to get past ECU. They made it a little tense on Tuesday, though, right? I mean, he pitched well, brought in Najir Victor, who gave up a run. Then you bring in your closer, Kyle Kramer. He gives up a blast. It's 3-3, and then
the ball still hasn't landed yet.
Yeah, it's still sailing in clear water. But then the dramatic walk-off by Andrew Payne.
Yeah, I mean, and that's not, of all the guys, they have 7 guys that have hit at least 10 home runs. Like, Andrew Brate's not a guy you'd expect it from. It's just, he got a good pitch and just got a good piece of it. And that's why he had the grand slam against, who was it, Dartmouth too. He just has when he does hit home runs, it does seem to be big moments, and just couldn't have been a bigger moment. And it seemed like they had so much momentum after that. Everything seemed to break right in the tournament afterwards. And then today happens and they just laid a dud.
Yeah, Nate, how catastrophic is today's loss? Obviously, it's a loss in the It's a loss in the tournament, but it's a run rule by our rivals. Maybe the last time we play them for a while. Obviously, leaving conference. How catastrophic is today's loss?
It is pretty catastrophic, I would say. I mean, going against USF with your ace on the mound and Rudy, you thought you'd be set, and then you could tell like right away he had like a 25 pitch first inning. You could tell he just didn't have it. And then it just kind of spiraled downward from there. And now you have to go and face ECU, the one team that swept you in conference play. And, obviously both teams' backs are against the wall. But, I mean, ECU is the #1 seed. They have this pedigree of, seems like every year they're dominating the conference. And it's not – I mean, just it's as simple as it may sound, it's not great. Like, it's, the season –
That's the analysis, Adam. It's not great.
But the season may very well just we'll look back and that Thursday, that was pretty much it. That's, that was the end of it. And it was just a matter of just showing up on Friday and whatever happens. Like, who's pitching tomorrow? Do you know? Does Lovelady?
No. And what's interesting about that is it was not asked in postgame. I asked him about Rudy. He said Rudy wasn't feeling well. Rudy you mentioned
that makes sense.
A lot of pitches early. He had nearly 50 pitches through the 2 innings. So I thought, okay, they didn't think he had it, right? So they want to be able to bring him back in. But every single person they brought in, they had 7 pitchers. Nobody had anything. But the good thing is nobody pitched for very long.
Yeah, but I mean, if I had to pick one guy, I guess Stagliano would be. He's the starter that threw the least amount of pitches.
One guy.
Yeah, literally one guy. Dominic Castellano looked good against Wichita State. I don't. It's just it's not looking great. I mean, their offense can hang with the best of them, but it's not going to matter if you can't pitch. If you're giving up 15 runs to USF, not much you can do.
I was going to ask Nate, not to be negative all the time. Can you give me any positive out of today? Was there any positive you saw? Anything I can hang some hope on here?
I'd say with their bats. Usually with UCF's offense, it's tough for them to – when you have 2 games where they're kind of like ho-hum, maybe they're due for a big outing tomorrow. Maybe their offense shows up. That would be the one thing you could hang your hat on. But it's it's going to be an uphill climb. It's everyone got their hopes up after Tuesday, and rightfully so. It seemed like, if there was a path for UCF to make it to the conference championship game, that was pretty much it. And then you have to handle your business against USF, who's the 8th seed. But I mean, the tournament was wide open heading into it, and it's playing out that way. And UCF had its chance, and they may have very well just blown it.
Yeah, it's catastrophic, some say. You mentioned ECU. They lost at ECU earlier this season, 17-7, 11-5, then 3-2. So that one, give them a little bit.
And Stagliano pitched well in that game.
Yeah, so 3-2 in that one. We ran the long Greg Lovelady 3-second soundbite summing up the performance today. Adam, could you run it again? Do you have it? Can we hear it again from Coach Love?
Just obviously not a very good performance today. We didn't play very well.
3 errors today, Nate, in this one. So let me set up Coach Lovelady when I asked him, handicap ECU now. They face them at 1 o'clock. Winner moves on. Loser goes home. What about the Pirates?
You got to play really well. Obviously, with 7 or 8 lefties in the lineup. They play for the big inning. They put a lot of pressure on you. Bunts. They can run a little bit, so they'll try to just slap balls off the ground and use their speed. They don't make a lot of mistakes defensively. And they're very deep on the mound. So you're gonna see some good arms no matter where you are in the game, no matter what the score is. But you got to be able to play good defense. You got to be able to execute pitches. Can't give them any free bases. Because when you do, they'll get up there, and some of those big guys will hit some doubles or home runs and turn a 1-run inning into a 4-run inning really quick. So just keep them off the base pass as much as you possibly can. Limit the amount of damage they can do, and just try to execute pitches.
All right, that's the game plan. What's your confidence factor in that?
I mean, that should be the game plan against everybody. Don't let runners get on, make plays defensively. I mean, if I had to give it confidence, let's see, on a scale of 1 to 10. Oh, Jesus. I'd like to be allowed back at UCF. I'd give it maybe.
You graduated. You're good.
Your association with me, Nate.
It's already rocky. Yes, it is. Maybe a 4.
I don't know him. That's what I thought I heard you say last week. I don't know who that is, Trace.
Yeah. Who?
Yeah.
All the time.
Well, even if they do that, though, even if they get by ECU, they've got to keep replicating that. Yeah. They've got to do it on Saturday morning, and then they got to do it again. They got to keep winning. Don't
they have to beat, I think they play USF again, and then they have to beat them twice.
Yeah.
They have to beat them twice. And, do they have that much pitching to get through? Well, they have to get past ECU first, which is already an uphill climb. I mean, you got to take it one game at a time, cross that bridge if or when you get there. I mean, it's, they dug themselves into this hole, and they're going to have to dig their way out.
All right, I'm going to try to ask this one delicately, Nate, because to Trace's points, people are watching us. Do you think the result of this tournament could have reverberations into next season?
Oh, I'm going to have to be careful how I answer this. It definitely can. When you look, they're going to the Big 12, new conference. And after what's happened earlier this season, for them to kind of lay a dud in the conference, it could be enough for them to maybe head in a different direction. But I mean, it's a rough spot. It's been an up and down year, and I don't know. It might be coming to an end soon. Hopefully, it doesn't, but it's going to be tough.
I think I'm obligated in every show to ask a baseball question regarding John Rice Plumlee. So, Nate, what do you make of John Rice's play lately? He's actually been playing pretty well. He's been pretty consistent. I think he's got more power in his bat than I think a lot of people thought. But what do you make of the way JRP's kind of closed out his season now that football's done and he's got time only to focus on baseball?
I think he's been, for the most part, he's been relatively steady. I think if you look at the stats, I don't think there's much of a dip, even when he was bouncing football from what I saw. He has 10 home runs, I think, this year. The production he's had this year, it's if you would have told him at the beginning, he's gonna hit around a little below 300, but he's gonna have 10 home runs. He's gonna play solid, really good defense in center field. You take that any day of the week.
Nate, is there a draftable guy on this team? Obviously, the Major League Baseball draft comes up in early July. Is there a draftable guy on this team? Is there a player you think actually has an opportunity to be a relatively higher pick, or at least be drafted in the July draft?
Oh, Ben McKay's been the best player on the team. He's been solid behind the plate. He's probably got the best shot of the players who are draftable.
Cam Leiter.
He's not draft eligible though.
No?
I think you have to either play 3 years in college or you have to be 21 years old.
Oh, so, gotcha.
Yeah. Maybe moving forward, I think Sundin's got a good shot next year. But
is Plumlee draftable?
I think he's going to stay at UCF to play football and see that through. Is he draftable? I think if with one more solid year, he'd have a shot. I think he'd have to see it for one more year, and then he'd be draftable.
Interesting. Let me put you on the spot to end things. Should UCF lose tomorrow or Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, what are you asking Coach Lovelady in the postgame?
Oh man, what am I asking from postgame?
Like how you're outsourcing questions, that Trace.
Yeah, no,
veteran move.
Just maybe because this team has been so up and down. Maybe why was that the case? Why was there there were so many highs and there were so many lows? What was it? Why did they have so much trouble being consistent? Would probably be my question.
All right, I'm channeling my inner Nate Marrero should that opportunity arise. Nate, looking forward to your Ben McCabe feature. And thank you for being with us on the Sons of UCF Live. Sorry that Robert wasn't here and that this was not a well-paying 15-minute slot.
Yeah, it's all good.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Nate.
Anytime you guys want me on, so I appreciate it.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you, Nate. Softball, they finished at 40 wins. They looked good, right, against South Carolina in the first game. Then things went south against FSU and South Carolina. One last time this season, you had him live last week, a little pre-taped segment with Eric Lopez, the voice of UCF softball.
Well, guys, the UCF softball season came to an end over the weekend in Tallahassee last week in the regionals. Knights got off to a great start on Friday, beating South Carolina 6-1. Sarah Willis was the winning pitcher there. Chloe Evans had a big game for the Knights. Unfortunately, they would lose the winner's bracket game, the number 3 ranked Florida State, 5-1, and lost to South Carolina in the nightcap as their season came to an end at 40-21. Some defensive miscues, some not timely hitting was kind of missing from the Knights. Some questionable umpiring from the FSU game in particular, with some shenanigans going on, kind of some Scott Foster stuff, if you will. Adam knows what that's about. So the Knight season comes to an end, 40-21, a season that maybe a few years ago would be celebrated throughout. But that's the expectations have changed in the UCF, and certainly after 2022's magical year. The bar is super high at UCF, and certainly even Cindy Ball Malone, UCF head coach, mentioned that in the postgame, saying we're not satisfied with how we ended our season. People tell us great season, and our goal every year is to reach potential and have no regrets, and I don't think we reached either one of those. Knights now turn their attentions to the Big 12, but before we do that, 40 wins, third straight season that the Knights have gotten 40 wins or more in a single season. That's the first time that's ever happened in the program. They did win the American Conference Championship tournament in Tampa, go out on top, leaving the American, going to the Big 12. Sarah Willis was the tournament MVP. What a bright spot, huge, becoming the ace of this team, throws the first ever perfect game in 7 innings in program history, was the tournament MVP in Tampa to win the American Conference Championship for Sarah Willis. Chloe Evans set the school record for single season triples, most outfield assists in a year, had the top 4 RBI, most single season RBIs, second most doubles in a year, 5th Knight player to ever hit slugs 600 or more for Chloe Evans. It's just a magnificent season for this Knight season. 40 wins, and the ultimate compliment is that they still believe they want more. What they want more is to win regionals. It's no longer good enough to just get to a regional, it's winning regionals, and perhaps the ultimate goal, get to OKC. So the Knight season comes to an end. The good news for me is the Panthers hockey season is still going into the Stanley Cup final. Will the Heat season, how long will that continue in the postseason? Hopefully will also get us through the next couple of weeks. Guys, always a pleasure. Back to you.
We appreciate having Eric Lopez a part of our program this year. Answer his question, Adam. Heat, how long are they going to keep playing? Is it over soon?
Here's the problem, Trace. I'm the most nervous fan on earth, right? So we really needed that game 4. We're in Boston tonight. Game 5 starts literally in like 4 minutes. Gabe Vincent not playing. Heater 13-5, I think, when he starts in the playoffs, or 18-5 rather. So that's going to be a big loss. Can Kyle Lowry step up? Bam Adebayo, anything you want to do tonight is appreciated. But I still think we lose this one. And really, it all comes down to game 6 in Miami on Saturday night. If we can't win game 6 and you get to game 7, all bets are off at this point. So I'd love to see playoff Jimmy show up tonight. It's happened before in Boston, but I'm the most pessimistic person on earth. So I'm assuming we're going to lose pretty badly.
Is Matt Dolan, I saw his comment earlier, is he throwing out money if I say Iowa?
Did not appear you were involved in that. ELO only.
Let's talk a little more football news. You mentioned JRP earlier at 24/7 Sports on Twitter. Their list of most dynamic quarterbacks heading into 2023. Number 1 in the country, Adam, JRP, most dynamic quarterback. What do you think of that?
I mean, dynamic's an interesting word. I see how you get there with his ability to run and make plays with his feet. He had some passing touchdowns. I mean, there was a pretty interesting list there, but this is not going to get us a single solitary win next year. So I'm going to play UCF Mike here. I could care less about these ranking lists from random sites that are ranking different random things.
So you probably won't like Athlon Sports, Big 12 preseason team. No UCF Knight on the first team. Second team, Xavier Townsend at punt return. Third team, a couple of guys, Ricky Barber, Trayvon Morris-Brash, Jason Johnson, Colton Boomer, and they go so far deep as to have a fourth team on this list. RJ Harvey, Javon Baker, Lokahi Paule. No first teamers, though. Not a lot of respect from Athlon for your UCF Knights, Adam.
It was surprising. I mean, typically, Palua is usually a guy you'd see up there. Ricky Barber, you think you'd see up there a little higher. Our only second teamer being Xavier Townsend, who I love the kid to death, but I mean, he didn't have a stellar punt return here. To have him second all conference punt return was a little bit head scratching. So let's just use this as chip on our shoulder music, right? Let's just, Gus has put this on the bulletin board. They don't respect us. They don't think we got real football players here, right? Let's use that mantra and see if we can't win a couple games.
There were a couple of real billboards up in Times Square.
I saw those, yeah.
Wednesday, coaches tour along with Gus Malzahn, Johnny Dawkins, Coach Messer from women's basketball, Coach, of course, Terry Mahajer, President Cartwright. They're in the Big Apple. And you know what I noticed? I want to bring in our guest here, who is from the New York, New Jersey area, Rob Cicente at NYC Rob UCF. He was there. You dressed down a little bit for us, Rob. I see you dressed down a little bit for us. What about this event? Everybody was schnazzy at this one.
Yeah, it was cocktail attire. So I mean, I don't usually wear a suit even to work. So it was the one time of the year to wear a suit. So you have to, dress to impress.
All right. We're going to ask you, of course, no doubt, what scoops you got from this one. But how would you describe the overall event? I think, I live in the Orlando area, and I think we take for granted the opportunity to attend things like this. But here, a lot of these guys came to visit you in your neck of the woods. What did you make of the overall event?
I mean, I thought it was awesome. And they came pre-COVID. So I think it was 2019. They also came Danny White, Heupel, Dawkins was here also. So, it was nice to see them again and press them on questions and stuff like that. But more importantly, just seeing the alumni going to these events is what makes everything so fun with UCF. So, just, especially in New York, you don't really think about it of saying how many alumni are in the area. Obviously for watch parties and stuff like that, you get the football fans that go and show up. But for these, it's more of a networking event on top of it. So the vibe was good. I mean, there was, I would say, guess maybe around 200 people there. So it was a pretty decent amount. And it was fun. UCF knows how to have fun.
Rob, you mentioned obviously speeches by the coaches, a little Q&A. So what information did you gain? Did you learn anything new, anything exciting that you learned last night you picked up that you can share with us?
Yeah, I mean, so I really didn't talk to President Cartwright at all. He was bouncing around like nobody's business, but I talked to Gus a little bit, talked to Johnny, Terry. We tried to press Terry as much as possible on what schools we may be adding to the Big 12. He would not give any information, but he said that they are ongoing discussions of adding schools. So that is always just good to hear. I also had brought up if he wanted to play USF in football ever again, and he said no. So he joked around a little bit of that, of just saying it's it rubs him the wrong way about how USF treated that whole thing during the Big East, even though he wasn't here at the time. But he was just like, we'll play them in other sports, but football, let's not do that. And with Johnny, I was talking to him a little bit about the transfer portal. Tracy, I've been pretty critical lately.
To that point, Adam, Exhibit A. Could you bring up the photo? Look at the best of friends. Huh? You are so critical of John. Did you say to Johnny, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be gone by now? Isn't that the sort of thing you'd say?
No, I didn't do that. I went right up to him and I said, you've been doing work in the portal. So,
I'm your biggest fan, Coach.
Jumped right on in. But he did say to expect a possible transfer commitment over the weekend. So that's something to kind of look forward to And he was talking a little bit about trying to get out of conference scheduling down, and it opens up some new opportunities being in the Big 12. So, he's been talking about trying to get a home and home with Duke. Obviously the connection there with his old school, but so that would be cool to go to. And, I tried to ask him a little bit about if there was anything that he was really interested in, or a circle on the calendar, basically, of a Big 12 schedule. And he said he's really looking forward to going at Kansas. He never played at Kansas. He never, coached at Kansas. So he was very excited about, having that experience and experiencing, that atmosphere.
What about any more insights from Coach Malzahn? Anything about the offense? Anything about Darren Hinshaw?
You know what? I didn't have a long conversation with him. He was also.
Are you best friends with him too? Have you ever been critical? Is there any receipts on your Twitter timeline?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But, I won't say anything. I don't know. But yeah, I didn't have a lot of time with him. He was swamped, as you can imagine. But he did, again, he mentioned some scheduling that they've been trying to get home and home with Miami. But he said that they're dodging us. So I don't know how true that is, but if there was some passion there that he wants them on the schedule so he could go down there and, kick a little ass.
Before we let you go, you shared with me 2008 marketing major at UCF. That's when you graduated. You live in the New Jersey area. This is the part I like, though. You work in finance now for the Bazooka Candy Company.
Yeah.
Any free samples? You never asked that, right? Would you like to be a participating sponsor of the Sons of UCF? We accept it.
if you want samples, I could get a gift basket and send it over your way.
Or maybe that's a future giveaway to subscribe to the Sons of UCF YouTube channel or something. Maybe we can do that.
Yeah.
There we go.
You, Rob, are a great follow at NYC Rob UCF on Twitter. Very opinionated. Now, you get into the political a little bit. So if you're a little snowflakey about that topic, you might be offended by Rob. But if you like his hot takes on all things UCF, he is Johnny Dawkins' #1 supporter on Twitter. Adam, one more time with a photo.
I mean, JP Gilbert would like a word with you, by the way.
Are you a part of the agenda with JP Gilbert?
I don't want to commit to anything, but I am so wishy-washy with basketball, and it's just like, the passion is there, but I think he expects us to be that way as fans. So he understood that there was some disgruntled fans, but he's confident going into this year, putting the transfer portal, all of those commitments coming in as of recently, and he's saying that everyone has a chip on their shoulder, they're ready to play in the Big 12, and he sold me.
He sold him. I love that. By the way, UCF Mike was very nice to Johnny Dawkins to his face, and then comes on shows like this all the time and bashes him. Rob Sente, great follow on Twitter, great UCF Night fan. We thank you for being with us on Sons of UCF Live. We'll have to have you back sometime.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Speaking of coming back, look who's back. Nate. Nate's back. You know why Nate's back? Because our earlier guest, who was otherwise occupied, busy, couldn't make it, Chris Duffy, great UCF Night baseball player. Let's bring him in. A family affair. Hello, Chris. Night baseball player 2007 to 2010, former leader in home runs. Nate, you interviewed Chris. Nate, welcome in to Sons of UCF. Who's the little guy?
Nate, it's actually a girl. Her name's O'Leary.
Oh.
But yeah. See her hair. That's right. That's cool.
I caught her by the ankle. That's
O'Leary. Say hi.
Say hi.
Yeah, she's Hawaiian. She'll be at the Hula Bowl. So.
Ooh. Chris, we appreciate you stealing some time. I know you've been busy this afternoon. When you saw Ben McCabe making his way up the home run leaderboard there, you had to think maybe he was going to catch you, huh?
Yeah, I was hoping he actually did. It helps people remember what I did. So it's actually it brings back some relevance because everybody forgot about it, And now we have, even including players I coached, they weren't even, some of the 13-year-olds or 10-year-olds weren't even born yet. So it's a good feeling, you know. It's pretty cool.
Chris, I don't know if you saw the game today. Knights took a tough loss. Obviously, you've been a player before. What do you do after a game like that, Chris? Do you just wipe it out of your memory and forget about it? How do you bounce back after a game like that?
It always sucks against USF because, you know, we're you know, that's our rival. But a game like that, I mean, to be honest with you, they won the first one. You got to remember the good, you know. But we're still alive in the tournament, and baseball, you know, it's not over till it's over. So if they keep on scrapping tomorrow, or they play again tomorrow, right? We play again.
Yeah,
tomorrow?
back at it at 1 against ECU.
Ooh, East Carolina. Godwin. That was my hitting coach. And Palumbo, that was my coach back then at UCF.
They're a pretty good team.
They're really good, but guess what? Their back's against the wall too, because they lost 1-2, right? So, I mean, it'll be a really good game to watch because it's do or die for both of them. So, yeah, that'll be definitely a good game. So I'm going to tune into that one if I can.
Nate, hop in here.
Yeah, so when I talked to you, talked about when you first met Ben McCabe. Can you just go through again, like, what that meeting was like and how did that conversation go?
Oh, yeah, well, I met him over the summer, 2 summers ago, and he actually told me he was going to break the home run record. He told me, he's like, I'm coming after your record. So I like the confidence that he had. I kind of took him for granted back then, but now I'm taking him serious. I took him serious. So, but that was pretty cool, though. I didn't know he was the one at the time until he told me he knew it, right? But I think I'm happy that I inspired him to do it. He always said, hey, I saw you do it, and then I went for it. And I saw a lot of guys do what I did, hit 400, hit 20 bombs. I saw guys before me do it, and I believed it. And I'm glad that I could be an inspiration to him to achieve something that's cool, you know? So.
What gets lost a little in the shuffle here is you were tied with a guy by the name of Bobby Kaiser. Did you ever meet him?
I believe I did, but I don't remember his face as much, you know. But I remember that's what they said. They were tied, but I guess they gave it to me because it was more recent, I guess. But the single season record is still. I know the single season record that was 18 at the time, and then D Brown. I remember. I mean, he was there when he wasn't there, but he was. You know, we talked all the time around the time that I broke his record. So, but I haven't talked to Kaiser as much. So.
Chris, obviously looking ahead to next season, UCF making a jump to the Big 12. How excited are you to see your Knights now playing in the Big 12 conference?
You know, I've seen. I was at UCF when the stadium was being built and the arena was being built. So I saw UCF grow before my eyes. And, you know, I knew the history back then, and we were trying to come up back then. And it's really cool to see how far we came. They guaranteed me that we were going to have a big stadium when they were recruiting me. And it's finally here now after years later. But, you know, and then, from back then it was Conference USA. Before that, it was whatever it was, right? But I was in Conference USA, and they kept on moving up. Now they were in the All-American Conference, and now the Big 12. That's really cool, man. I just watching them grow and become big time, and almost surpass FSU and UF. That was the goal back then. You know, we were always comparing ourselves to them, and now we're up there with them. So. And nobody could argue that, you know. So like, it was cool to see them growing throughout the years. So, yeah. And I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. So in the 2010, while McCabe surpassed the career record, you still hold the single record in 2010 for batting average and home runs and RBIs. What was that season like? I mean, it just seemed like you were in the zone that whole year of that season you had.
Well, it actually came from the failures that I had, man. The first 3. What happened was, out of high school, I was a draft pick, and I turned down. Well, my parents actually, I wanted to sign, but my parents wanted me to go to college. It was cool, so I turned down some money. And then after my junior year, I ended up not even getting drafted, you know? So it was definitely a hard time for me because, you know, that was your dream. And I was like pretty much staring at my dream like, okay, is this going to come true? Am I going to have another opportunity again? And, you know, I just decided in my mind and in my heart of hearts and soul of soul that I wasn't going to just go unnoticed, you know? And I think that brought the beast out of me. I could definitely say that. And I was just going on a tear from that energy that was stored inside of me, you know? So and actually that's what's driving Ben too. He's trying to get picked up as well, you know? So I think that energy right there translated into what happened. And also, like I mentioned earlier, me seeing other people do what I did or, you know, accomplish those things, hit 400. And I even told my roommate, Shane, who ended up hitting 400, I was like, we got to hit 400 this season. We got to hit 400, right? And we ended up doing it. Kind of like Ben told me he was going to go out the record. But if you believe it, you could achieve it, you know? So I think that was pretty much the motivation and the motive behind what happened there. But I'm glad it happened, you know, turning negative into a positive because or else we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, you know? So, and I did have a good pro career as well. Didn't make millions of dollars, but it was a good career, you know? So I did have that, was able to live my dream and, you know, have opportunity to play with a lot of big time players. That year I was a Golden Spike with Bryce Harper and Pomerantz and Grandal and those guys and stuff like that. So it was a really cool experience, you know, that baseball rewarded me with for sticking through the ups and downs, you know, and not giving up. So
what do you make of the story this year of John Rice Plumlee, QB1 and man in center field for the Knights?
Hey, that's cool. That's cool. I wish I was a two-way player. I think it's even more cool that because I know football coaches in the past didn't really let guys play baseball or both, you know, at UCF, even when I was there. But I think it's cool that he's doing two sports. It's hard to do, focus on two and really be good at two. So he's one of a kind, man. And I hope he has a good football career and baseball career. And I hope he makes it in both too, you know. So
we'll let you go with this one. Bring us up to speed on what you're doing now. Understand you're the director of Florida Travel Baseball. Tell us about that.
Yep. I run FTB Select, Florida Travel Ball organizations, ages 10 through 14. Got over like 100 families that, you know, believe that we can develop their sons to play baseball. And really, I'm just giving back what baseball gave to me, you know, and development starts when they're younger, you know, 10 through 14. And if you set the foundation right, they'll be able to hopefully have a chance to play in college like I did or pro, you know? So FTB was a really good organization. It's a first-class organization that I joined and I was coaching with. And then they put me in the role of general manager and owner of the 10 through 14. So it was a really good opportunity and just feel blessed to have the opportunity to help the kids out, you know. And it's in Central Florida, you know, where I went to college, and they have opportunity. We have UCF days as well, where we go out there as an organization and the kids kind of see where I'm at. And that's what I was saying. Ben helped me out with that too, because they forgot about that or they didn't know, right?
Yeah, some don't know, but those of us who saw you really appreciate what you did while in Knights uniform.
Appreciate it, but it's realistic to them now, right? They believe, they're like, "Oh, coach, you were that good." I was like, "Yeah, but I'm just your coach." Yeah, you know, so that's what's cool, you know.
Well, you're making a difference in those young people's lives. Chris Duffy, we appreciate you squeezing some time in for the Sons of UCF tonight.
Thank you. Go Knights.
Charge on.
I'll see you guys around. Yep, charge on. Let's go.
Thank you, Chris. All right, Nate, we appreciate you hopping back on when we knew Chris could join us. So we thank you, and we're looking forward to your story on Ben McCabe.
Yeah, no, can't wait. And thank you guys for letting me come back on.
All right, anytime.
Is that the first time we've had a guest on twice in the same show?
Maybe. We had Andrew Glukov, who just didn't leave.
He never left, though. He never left. No, he never left. Nate actually logged off, signed off, and then came back in. So that may be the first.
When you told me Chris was in, I messaged Nate, and Yeah, back on. We're talking about great players like Chris Duffy. You and Mike got a chance to interview just a Hall of Famer. I mean, a great guy. I got to tell you, there was many years when I was involved with UCF Alumni Association on the board, along with Sean Beckton in the Community Volunteers chapter. And there was many a Saturday we were out from river cleanups to Habitat for Humanity to beach cleanups, and Sean Beckton right out there involved in that, going to meetings, involved in community service projects. He's a Hall of Famer for a reason, and you guys spent a good bit of time with it. He's candid with you guys.
Yeah, look, if you haven't heard the whole interview, I mean, he talks pretty openly, especially about his time leaving UCF and kind of what that period was like. And he recognizes that some fans, some people give him some flack for taking off, but I think he did a nice job explaining a little bit about what was going on behind the scenes. So if you've always wanted to know a little bit about some of the conspiracy theories, I think you'll enjoy what Coach Beckton had to say. But one question that Mike asked him was, the question we assume he gets a lot, and we all talk about a lot. He was on a lot of great teams, a lot of great staffs. So Coach Beckton, we wondered, what was the better team, 2013 or 2017?
I just thought that for the players aspect and the defensive side of the ball, offensive side of the ball, special teams, I thought that was our best team. During my time, 13 was pretty good with Blake Bortles and Pearman and Storm and, some of those guys over there on the defensive side, Kamal Ishmael and Boye and those guys. But the 13 team, the 17 team was probably the best team to probably ever, step foot on campus.
And that's saying a lot coming from a guy like Sean Beckton, who saw a lot of teams and was a part of a lot of UCF football.
And right before we started live, I said to you, what's so great about him is he scored 4 touchdowns in a game, 4 different ways. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I don't care what level of football you play in. That was great when he talked about that.
He talked about how he tried to get a 5th. He tried to get a kickoff return. He had a punt return, and he thought he had a chance maybe for a kickoff return late in the game. So he was going for that elusive 5th touchdown. But unfortunately, he'll have to settle for 4. Yeah,
a lot of good stories there. Stick around for when he talks about the Hale Perryman ball. That also interesting. Full interview on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. Before we open the mailbag around the Kingdom, Shareholders Society welcomes 350th member. Congratulations there. And volleyball new head coach Jenny Maurer makes her first hire when she welcomes associate head coach Jason Tanaka. All right, Adam, it is your favorite moment.
It is. I can't wait.
It's back by popular demand. It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
Such a good amount of cheese involved
So
there.
much
It's just so good.
enthusiasm.
It's just so good. It's unbelievable.
All right, at Troy OTC, what does it say about UCF? The only quarterbacks that have been added recently were from the Cows and Charlotte, and they were castaways, says Troy OTC.
Like, I think sometimes you read too much into schools guys are coming from, right? Like, we all weren't jumping up and down for Jason Johnson. We all weren't jumping up and down for Kobe Perry. I mean, these guys were good players. So while certainly they're not coming from the biggest name schools out there, that does not mean they're not talented. Xavier Williams got scholarship opportunities. Gunnar Smith is a huge human being at 6'4", 212 pounds. Are they going to be great quarterbacks? I don't know. But we also need depth too, right? And so they're both young kids who can develop. So yes, I would love for them all to come from Michigan and USC and Penn State. But sometimes, you find players in the right spots and you get them here and they blossom. So I'm not going to worry too much about where they're from.
2 questions from Michael at Emptiness 4. He says he misses Andy. Where is Andy? Have you talked to Andy?
Andy and I messaged recently. He was just taking a little break, a little hiatus. He's a football X's and O's guy, so I think he's pulling his hair out. Nothing to analyze right now, so I think he's just in the lab working on some new phrases or whatnot.
Can we bring him back on the?
We can do anything we want, Trace. Anything we want.
And then Michael asking, what sport will have the worst record for the first year in the Big 12? And he says we need a photo here. Trace, please stare intensely at Adam while he answers. That, of course, from our live show. When we were, where were we? We were at the, what was the hotel?
Celeste.
The Celeste. That's when I was listening intently to you. You look a little sunburned there after the.
I was absolutely sunburned. Nobody listens that intently to me ever in my life, Trace. So I appreciate you for that.
All right, what sport gonna have the worst record in the first year in the Big 12?
I'm gonna go women's basketball.
That is mine as well. I think Coach Dawkins will eke out a couple more wins than Coach Messer. At Where T Now, likelihood of starting men's track and field. I think it's a great idea, but with Title IX and the scholarship offerings that you have, you're going to add a women's sport, which I think should be beach volleyball. But I don't think UCF's adding anything.
Yeah, unlikely.
At Cap Vij 1, looking at the numbers from the Cow Stadium plan, are they really going to go ahead with that? $380 million. Are they really going to do that? They think they can raise 13 to 14 million from operating revenue. UCF gets about 8. Anyone looked into their claims? If they can get that kind of money, does UCF need to raise ticket prices? Men's basketball and women's basketball ticket renewals went out, and they have raised ticket prices. So they are looking for different ways to.
Why do any of us expect that the Cows did wonderful research? Trace, I got to do this really quickly. Nate is still in the stream. He left the room, so we just have. Nate's empty room is still available for our viewing pleasure.
Oh,
I don't know where he went. I don't know if I don't want him to walk back in some form of a condition that I don't need to see. So I'll take that off the screen. But Nate's empty room still available to us.
At Dolly Drama, Dolly, he likes to freshening up with the show with different hosts. But sorry, I'm back. He's got 4 questions, by the way. 4 questions. Yeah. How much NIL do you think it takes to fuel an elite softball program? More than UCF is committed to it. But I don't know what, I need Eric Lopez to weigh in on that. Maybe he doesn't even know. I don't know how published softball rates are, but more, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what a good number is for that, but more. Civil conflict perhaps being revived with chatter of UConn joining the Big 12. Is that healthy for the league? I'm not big on this one.
Yeah, we've had too much UConn in our life. I'm okay with them moving on. They don't offer much outside of the basketball teams, which are obviously very good. Maybe their baseball team is good. I have no idea. But
their baseball team is good.
Much. Okay, well, good. They can stay where they are because I don't want them over here where I'm at.
Question number 3. Hey, Nate. Hey.
Oh, hey.
That's 3.
Hello.
Your chair was on earlier. We just popped up the chair. You weren't there.
Oh, yeah.
Bye, Nate.
Chris Duffy called me.
Bye, Nate. Question 3 from Dolly. Love Lady Pink Slip, question mark.
It's not off the table, right? I think the way that the season has ended, I don't think it's off the table. I think that certainly, look, I don't want to say the season comes down to one game, but I think you win that game, you win the championship, you get to the championship game, you feel a lot better. If I'm UCF, I think you have to start looking.
I'm going to continue to say what I've said, that I think every coach deserves to coach into the Big 12. That's my stand. Question 4. What's your summer drink? Hey, I was at Frenchie's the other day in Clearwater. Pina colada.
I'm not a big pina colada fan. Yeah, it's not bad. It depends where I'm at, Dolly. Like, I need some context here. What am I doing? Where am I at? Is it hot? Am I indoors? What's my situation here? I'm typically a seltzer guy. So give me the Happy Dad fruit punch seltzer. If you guys all haven't tried that, it's got electrolytes in it. It's healthy for you.
It's healthy seltzer. Don't fuck up 23.
Good job.
Good thing I hadn't had.
You could have just said Falk, I think, like Marshall Falk.
With the season of Survivor nearly over, I DVR'd it. I don't know who won yet. If you were stranded on a deserted island with only a knife and some flint, what's your favorite color? Black and gold.
Survivor still on is my first question.
Yeah.
And shameless admission. What is flint?
You use that to start the fire. The little, I don't know what it is, but.
Well, thanks for explaining it for me then.
I don't know what it's in it, but
Nate, do you have any idea do you know what flint is?
Absolutely not.
All right, bye, Nate.
There, but I can
Google that. Get back with us.
Do you watch Survivor, Nate?
Absolutely not.
Okay, I like Nate already. See you later, man. Okay.
That's Stat Boy Drew. We talked about him earlier. I guess we need to ask the crew's take on the new gold helmet. Do you prefer bright gold or metallic gold? Any gold. I'm with Brian W. Peterson. Any gold whatsoever.
I like a little bit of the shine on the new helmet. It's hard to tell in the pictures how much it's going to be. I think our old gold had a little brownish to it, so I do like a little shine on there. Although UCF Mike pointed out, it looks a lot like the Cows version, so you're going to have to change that a little bit. But I do like the new gold.
At Mr. Nightman _ should UCF have an alternate Pegasus helmet? And why is the answer to that question yes? Resoundingly yes. All for
So he means like the Pegasus horse with the wing situation?
Yeah.
I could be in for that. Yeah, I think alternate on a rare basis. That's the academic logo, so I think it's tough to brand it with the sports, but I think we can throw that in there because it is on the sleeves. So
You talked about it on the pod, and Brian W. Peterson up in the ante, throwing a poll in. If you were given the power to set all kickoff times for the season, what time are you picking? I actually thought, I'll read through his choices. Noon was 6%. Those people were cow of the week, right? The 6% that said they want noon kickoffs.
Do they not ever go outdoors in Orlando in a September at noon? Apparently,
3:30, 26%, 7 p.m., 61%, 8 p.m., 7%. My actual answer would be 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I didn't like any of these times actually. Look, the best time to see a game is obviously when the conditions are better. Night games are always more fun, so give me the night games. Selfishly, though, it requires more commitment on my part to physically get there. But night games are a little bit easier. Even if you're not going to the game, you can get your Saturday in, then watch the game at night. All I know is the correct answer is not noon.
Yeah, not noon. And at Lonely Bee UCF, I did not do my homework on this one. Top 5 dumbest things UCF fans complain about, and why is number 1 shade in the stadium? Shade is definitely one. But back to Brian's question, fans gripe about kickoff times, right? If it's a noon game, they can't tailgate, the kids have soccer. If it's a night game, the babysitter with the kid. Fans do not like the game times, no matter what the game times. There's always a group of fans.
Is this just specific to stadium or the stadium experience?
He says top 5 dumbest things UCF
because that's that's a lot. I mean, we gripe about a lot of stuff. If you're talking just stadium, I mean, Wi-Fi's in there, no hot dogs at the top of the cabana, that's in there. Trace lines everywhere is in there. Look, shade's important, Mario. I'm not gonna lie to you, shade's important. I'm a big shade fan. You saw reference my need for shade right here in case you were curious. I'm a big fan of shade.
We've brought a lot of photo evidence to the show. Does Nate know what Flint is yet? Did Nate look up Flint?
Yeah, I don't think that's what you're looking for. A hard gray rock consisting of pure chert occurring chiefly as nodules in chalk. That's Google.
They use that when they start the fires in the.
You keep doing this. No one knows what this means, Trace. I don't know.
It sounds like you're saying like it was a tipped. It looks
they rub it together.
Something else, Nate. Something else, Nate.
It has to be it's some type of boomer thing that's like well beyond.
Boomer thing. So
I was going to say that I like this role for Nate as sort of fact checker, drops in, drops out. Yeah. Nate wanted to come back and read excerpts from his story about Ben McCabe, but we're not going to do that. Okay, we're not. Give us something. You got it right there?
I have it right in front of me.
I'm sure you do.
You want me to read it?
Give us
What's the lead? Give me the lead.
The lead? Okay. I got you. When Ben McCabe was 3 years old, he got dropped off at a camp by his mother, Connie McCabe. The camp had 5 different sports: football, basketball, soccer, tennis, and baseball. Amid the chaos of kids his age running back and forth between the 5 sports, Ben found his love for the game with a bat, a ball, and a glove. Now, that same kid that got dropped off at a summer camp is UCF baseball's all-time leader in home runs.
That's good stuff.
I'm hooked already.
Now, where's that going to appear?
Orlando Sentinel.
Orlando Sentinel. That NSM stuff, now that you're a UCF alum, behind you now, huh? You're big time in NSM.
A little bit. I mean, it's also like there's like a word count thing of NSM, so it makes it a little more difficult. And if it was NSM, I wouldn't be getting the help I'd be getting from the Orlando Sentinel. Like the sports editor has been helping me, giving me pointers and stuff like that. So that's going to make this, I think it's going to be the best story I've ever written, to be honest with you.
Oh, there you go. Hey, you're busy next Thursday because none of us are doing the show. We'll just set you up with the show and you can read the story for an hour.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't take me that long to read it.
But, you can break out poetry and you can Google facts. You can take questions from Mario. You for an hour. Nate Unplugged.
Yeah, maybe. I could be talked into it.
Nate, we thank you for being with us. We will bid you adieu. Goodbye to your chair, which made an appearance earlier.
Looks like a nice chair. It looks comfortable.
Reminder, now, have you scheduled the drop? Has it already dropped?
I've not scheduled anything. I've not dropped a thing, Trace. Right now, the only thing I'm dropping is my confidence in the Heat, or down 18 to start the second quarter. So that's the only thing that's dropping for me currently.
By the way, were you watching the Heat while Sean Beckton was talking? Because in that clip,
you saw a lot of this. Yeah, you sure did. Yeah. Because we were winning at halftime, so I'm like, okay, this is going to go okay. Like, I need to pay attention, and then it got worse. And there was a couple times I made facial expressions, not at disgruntledly at the TV, and I was hoping that Coach Beckton didn't think I was doing that at his answer to a certain question, but he didn't seem to notice.
Well, good stuff from Andrea Adelson and Coach Beckton in this show. Thank to Nate for being with us, Chris Duffy, Eric Lopez, and Rob being there with us as well. Good show. You're off next week. You're vacationing.
Vacationing, the first family vacation in a hot minute. So we will be out, but we'll be back, I think.
Gotcha. Well, safe travels to you as well, Leo, who returns from Italy soon. We want to thank all of you for being with us. We will catch you again soon. Be sure to log on and look at the Sons of UCF YouTube channel for that great interview with Coach Beckton and as well the Andrea Adelson interview. All right, everybody. For Adam, I'm Trace. Go Knights!
Charge on, everybody. But we got one more surprise, Trace. Goodbye.
I'm Mackenzie Middleton. Thanks for watching Sons of UCF.
He